Do I need a filter? This is the most commonly asked question across pretty much all of YouTube and a fair amount of Google as well when it comes to aquariums. And the answer is a little more complicated than just a simple yes or no. It's a maybe, but let's explain why it's a maybe where you do need something like a sponge filter or a powered filter versus when you don't. Hello everyone, this is Bentley. Today we're going to talk about one of the most commonly asked questions on YouTube, which is just, do I need a filter? And I feel like this is a way more complex subject than a lot of people would normally think. First off, let's define filter. And we'll define this by understanding the nitrogen cycle, aka how we turn fish waste into non-harmful byproduct. As we build up beneficial bacteria in our aquariums, the first most common is aerobic bacteria. Bacteria that survives in a highly oxygenated environment, which is pretty normal for something like this sponge filter right here, and is going to be the same for something like your hang-on-the-back filter, canister filters, because of the amount of water they're moving and the gas exchange that we cause at the top of the water. And you can kind of see that here, right in the flow in my aquarium down below me from my FX2. This causes gas exchange. This causes more and more oxygen to be introduced into the water system because of that movement. Aerobic bacteria first breaks down ammonia, which is the most harmful substance. That's what comes when our fish poop, right? This waste product is converted into nitrite. Nitrite is still harmful, but it is less harmful than ammonia. And from a chemical process, we could go deeper in this, but let's not worry about the deep science part of this, because that'll help us answer this question easier. Then we're turning nitrite into nitrate. Nitrate is really unlikely to be a problem until it gets to very high concentrations. We're talking about 200 parts per million or higher typically, but for some more sensitive fish, this could be something higher than, say, 80 parts per million, which is quite a bit compared to what most of our aquariums are going to be dealing with. And realistically, many tropical fish in freshwater can do fine for a period of time, not long term, in even as much as like 400 parts per million. So when you see your nitrate test and it's crazy high, don't panic immediately and freak out. Just know that there's a little work you definitely need to do, but your fish aren't going to die immediately. There are always exceptions. This bacteria that we're creating in this oxygenated environment survives on any surface. It is just most common for us to get them in something like a sponge or a piece of ceramic media, filter floss, some kind of matting or padding, depending on what you're using for your filtration media. This is just an area where we can house massive colonies of bacteria because the surface area is significantly higher than, say, like our smooth glass here on the aquarium. But over time, any surface in an aquarium is going to build up biofilm. And that biofilm contains, as a part of its mixture of organisms that are living within it, some amount of beneficial bacteria. So you can have beneficial bacteria in your aquarium that are processing fish waste without ever having a more traditional filter like this sponge, or the canister filter that runs this aquarium here, a hang on the back like the ones on the aquarium by the other side here. There's actually a hang on the back on this aquarium too. You just can't quite see it, but you don't necessarily have to have those things to create surfaces for your beneficial bacteria. So what is a filter really? A filter is doing one of a couple different things. If we are only looking at it from a purely biological perspective, it is an area for beneficial bacteria to colonate, right? To make this big colony that water is naturally being pulled towards, so that as that water cycles through the bacteria, they're consuming all the waste, turning it into less harmful byproducts, eventually nitrate, and then it's dispersing into the aquarium in one way, shape, or form. Lots of things can be our filters. Plants. All these plants right here, they're doing a phenomenal job acting as a natural filter in my aquarium. So, do you need a filter? Yes. But does it have to be a sponge or a hang in the back or a canister filter or a sump Or. Not necessarily. Where this becomes more important is understanding the amount of what we call bioload in the aquarium, aka how much waste is our aquarium producing. An aquarium like this one, which has 3 full adult-sized angelfish and several adult-sized plecos, and an SAE and some autosynclus, actually produces a reasonable amount of bioload. Most likely more than could be safely handled just by these plants alone. So, as a matter of precaution, I have a powered filter that sits over here, and for a while I've had this sponge filter here to add oxygenation, and also because I was getting it ready for a different aquarium so that I could seed a new aquarium. Does it need those? Probably not. If I also take in one other account, how much maintenance am I willing to do? If I'm willing to change water on this tank every single day, I probably don't need a filter. And by a filter, I mean a powered filter, whether that is by electricity or air. So that's going to include sponges in air-powered under-gravel filters, box filters, Matten filters. There's a lot of air-powered filters, and they're all amazing. And that's also going to include our power filters, so canisters, sumps, hang on the backs, internal filters. All of these are powered filtration, whether they're powered by air or electricity. You don't actually need that if you're willing to do a massive water change on this tank every single day. There is going to be some bacteria that is going to colonize the surfaces of the glass, and maybe you've got some gravel instead of aqua soil. All those surfaces will have beneficial bacteria, and they will do some breakdown of waste. But if you're unwilling to do that level of maintenance, then you need, at a minimum, something that is going to move and circulate the water. Because if we have, as an example, let's say we have just these plants that we're going to rely on in the middle here. Well, if water's not continuously moving around and interacting with the surfaces of those plants and getting things down into their roots, then they're not going to be able to process all of the waste product in the water. So this can be as simple as having a power head, or you can have some air-driven water flow, circulation pumps like you'll see in saltwater very frequently. Water flow becomes important just to circulate the water around the tank to make sure it doesn't get stale, because inevitably, if you have completely solidified no movement in your water, you're going to build up a film on the top of the water, and that's going to prevent gas exchange. That's deadly. That's when we're going to run into problems, because there is some amount of oxygen that is required for the plants to live, for the fish to live, and even for the beneficial bacteria to live. We've kind of gone over this in like a cluster, but let's explain the most important part. We need to think of, do I need a filter? Is this. Any surface in your aquarium can effectively become a type of filtration over time. But traditionally, we look at powered filters, whether they're powered by air or electricity, to do a lot of this work, because not only do they have a medium to harbor those beneficial bacteria we need in a concentrated colony, they also have the power that moves and circulates the water through the aquarium to help ensure that water from way over here is making it all the way to the filter, so that the bacteria that are present can process the harmful chemicals, ammonia and nitrite, and expel them as less harmful chemicals like nitrate. Could you do a filter that is just plants? Absolutely. Could you do no filter whatsoever? Yes. But you have to make sure that you are doing significant maintenance with an amount of water flow in the tank to ensure that gas exchange and oxygenation is still occurring, and more importantly, that when waste products enter the water column as a whole, that water is moving and that waste product is moving toward the different surfaces where your bacteria is present in order to process them. We will need to, even though certain chemicals like nitrate are less harmful, we will still need to monitor them. That's why many planted aquariums are so popular, because the plants will naturally consume that nitrate in order to grow. And not only does it look nice, like even this one that is really simple and not super aquascape or anything can still look very nice and be enjoyable. It adds filtration and helps process things that could be potentially dangerous over time to our fish and makes them safe. Plus, it provides all sorts of other benefits, but we're looking at this purely from the perspective of a filter. I hope that helps you understand, do you need a filter? The true answer is no, but yes, right? It's one of those things where, yes, you need some kind of filtration, but it doesn't necessarily have to be what we would consider a powered filter, right? You could do this through plants, you could do this through gravel. It's just a matter of ensuring that you have oxygenation and water flow within your tank so that as beneficial bacteria colonate the surfaces within your tank, that water is moving and interacting with those beneficial bacteria colonies, keeping them alive by feeding them, but also allowing them to slowly purify the water by reducing those harmful chemicals into less harmful chemicals. And if you don't have something like a planted tank, maybe you're keeping African cichlids, then you will have to do some level of water change maintenance, and realistically, even in planted tanks, you should still do water changes. This will help dilute out and remove some of the less harmful but still potentially dangerous over time chemicals within your aquarium. That nitrate is our biggest example, but there are some others. And ensure that we are keeping the water in a healthy level so that our fish can thrive and survive. So I really hope this helps. If you've enjoyed this video, maybe you want some more broad level conversation topics like this, let me know. Let me know in the comments down below. And many of you probably are already familiar with these topics and know these things, but it's one of those things where if this is the most commonly asked question on both YouTube and Google when it comes to aquariums in general, then I feel it's necessary that we answer some of these, because maybe our initial answer in our head is going to be this, when actually there's kind of like a million ways to solve every problem. If the problem is harmful chemical buildup within your aquarium, there's lots of different ways to solve it, and not all of them are what we would traditionally think of as a filter, but they are still acting as a filter. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, there's quite a lot of you recently that have been browsing, that have been new. Consider subscribing. Hit the little notification bell that helps you make sure that you don't miss anything, whether it's a video, a live stream. I do both once a week. Also, I do a number of community posts when I'm asking questions of my audience, trying to get ideas of things that they want to see first or want me to talk about, all that kind of stuff. Join the community, interact, have fun. And if you decide to become a member, there's a members-only Discord that's kind of like the bat phone to get me. Some of the members out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome.